If you go to the website under schedule, I've added the relationship series that we're going to do December and the first 3 days of January while we're in Vanderbilt. And then I've also added a page for Intensive 2025. Please let us know if you're interested in this. The exact dates to be determined, but right now we're looking at let me flip my calendar. May the 1st will be our setup date. Urate, hopefully, is going to come and do the food. I'm trying to turn page one-handed here. And my apologies. Okay. So May the 1st to the 21st are the dates that we're looking at. And it's a place in Abingdon, Virginia. It's called the Jubilee House. We did a Laws of Living intensive there back in 2019 or 2020. And we're looking at doing a 9-day Why Is This Happening to Me Again? And then a 9-day Why Again Teachers Training, and a 3-day personal code training. Now, the 3-day personal code training will be in between the 9-day Why Again and the 9-day teachers training. There are prerequisites to do the personal code training. You have to have either in the past participated in a teachers training or Laws of Living, or you've committed to attending the 9-day teachers training that we're doing there in Abingdon. And the Why Again teachers training has a prerequisite that you have to have done a 9-day why sometime in the past, or the one that we're going to do in May. So that information is on the website under schedule. It'll say Intensive 2025. So please look at that and let us know sooner than later. The gentleman is tentatively holding space for us, but we have to let him know and put down payment and all of that for the rooms. It's really nice. And the rooms have 2 twin beds, or a double and a twin, or just a double. And there are handicap accessibility rooms. And it's a really nice place. And on each floor of the lodges, they have a little prayer room, prayer nook, or whatever. And then in the main building, we would have the dining hall and the kitchen and the conference area or lodge lounge area to do the teaching. And it's really nice, and it's beautiful. Abingdon's a historic town in Virginia. And so let us know if you're interested in participating in that. And other than that, I think that's the only changes I've made on the website in the last couple of days. If you go to the main page, whyagain.org, and you happen to click on the radio archives, you'll see that I've already created a category for January 2025. I'm just attempting to be proactive because I know at the end of the year things are going to be a little crazy for us, and I just wanted to make sure that everything was up there and created radio shows on Blog Talk through the middle of January so that we're covered there. And so hopefully everything will run smooth. If while we're gone you're interested in listening to the relationship series, that's under schedules as well. And I've listed the dates and what program we're going to play each of those dates. Now, these are live workshops, like where Michael did a live workshop on healing through relationships, and it was recorded. So there are DVDs that you can purchase. These are just the audios that you can listen to on these specific dates. There will not be archives available. That way we still, if you're wanting to listen to them again other than the date that they're on the radio show, we still have the option of a little income there by asking you to purchase the MP4. So I still don't see Michael on the switchboard, so let me see if he's having technical difficulty. Okay, he is working on it, so hopefully he'll get here in just a second. And I believe I didn't get in till the very last, but I think that Dr. Tim spoke to both Audrey and Susan, but I'm going to turn on Susan's microphone. Did you get with Dr. Tim?
Yeah, I did talk to Dr. Tim. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All righty.
Yes.
Very good.
How are you doing, young lady?
Oh, Michael, you helped us so much. I think everybody must have just loved having you on. And Melanie was sick and couldn't be on. I texted her and I said, Michael's on, and she found my text after almost 45 minutes or an hour or so, didn't come on, but regretted not having made it on. She's sick and her daughter's sick, and they just didn't make the meeting today. Another one had texted me yesterday that she couldn't be at the meeting, and I'm sorry. She would have loved how you handled that so well. I just can't thank you enough.
Are you recording these sessions?
I did. I never record them. They didn't want to. This personal stuff, and they just didn't want to. But I wish I had thought to do it today. It was a real loss that it wasn't, because it was just masterful how everybody was sort of in synchronized talking. I mean, the talking, there were no real overlaps, and people really just hanging in there trying to get themselves back on their feet and with you helping.
Yeah, what Ellen had to share, what John shared, it was just like a symphony.
Yeah, it was. It was amazing. Tim loved it. Yeah.
Awesome.
And it got us going in the right direction. And one thing I really, really appreciated, and we should talk about this maybe one-on-one sometime, or maybe, I don't know if it's appropriate.
Well, here we are.
Well, it's the political stuff. It's the part about the vice president, the now coming in vice president, and his persona switch and his plans. I hadn't even heard that. What I'm saying, I guess, is yes, that has to be paid attention to, but you're not in any kind of denial about what is going on, but you are able to stay centered and observe it and acknowledge it. I was telling Dr. Tim that's the ticket. I feel as if I have to go feel a lot of stuff, or get scared, or feel grief, or feel angry. It's not that. It's just to acknowledge that this is what we're up against, and we can still stay in active present love and be effective right here where we are when it's needed, if we can. I mean, sometimes we can't. But it was just good to get, it's like I got the oars back in the rowboat and could start moving instead of just being in shock. I guess that's what it was.
Michael, I hear you talking through the wall, but you're not on the phone.
Thank you, Jeannie.
You're through the wall, but not through the window. Okay, excuse me. I hit my mute button. But yeah, it's time for a mass awakening, and I can remember back on that, as we talked about on the Zoom call today, the day after the 2016 election, and the process that we did there, and the process goes on. It's a gift if people will quit their membership in the one world universal religion of blame, take responsibility for what's going on in their minds, heal themselves, and show up as humans. The last thing that if you look around, if you recognize, of course, that human life is love, and you look at the dearth of love on the planet, the last thing that happens is humans to show up. Human bodies show up, but that doesn't mean there's a human life in there. And so this is another monstrous opportunity if people will say, oh, he's shown me the dark side of my own underbelly. I think I'll start to heal it. Then is when change takes place. Until then, we're stuck in the resistance of evil, quote unquote evil. And you remember Yeshua said, resist not evil. I mean, basically what he's saying is, where your focus is, that's where your creative process is. So if you're focused on fighting against evil, then what are you going to do? you just voted for more evil. So evil simply meaning missing the target altogether, missing the target for what a human life is about, and that is living as the active presence of love. So breathing, sweet breaths, joyful breaths, bringing that, restoring that presence of love and letting go of everything unlike it, so that we start to really show up as humans and co-create a truly human society.
Yeah.
You know, they're under, I think his name was Weinstein, under Reagan, he wrote a book. Was it Reagan? I think it was Reagan. He wrote a book called Fight for Peace. You know, there's no bigger oxymoron than fighting for peace.
Yeah.
You know, fight has a vibration to it, and if we, as I pointed out in today's Zoom call, the tools we use to produce a result always produce a result like the tools. And if we're using the tools of drama and trauma to fight drama and trauma, then we become supporters and creators of more drama and trauma. And look how well it's working. It's really, it's really out there. It's really happening. So it's another call to clean up our own minds and take action from love rather than action from resistance, resentment, you know, all the crazy stuff that goes on.
Yeah, I was listening to a liberal podcaster that I admire very much. And he said, we are now the resistance. And I thought, there's got to be another way. We've got to do something's got to, it's like head to head. It can't be that way.
No, yeah. Breathe. Bring the energy forward, allow it to be there in the presence of love, and watch it dissolve. Fight against it.
I like that part about allowing it to come into, allowing its existence before having it be processed out. Somehow, to me, that's very important. Otherwise, for me, I'm just in denial again, on a different kind of denial, stuffing it under, pretending otherwise, putting my head in the sand, saying, oh, there's no problem, I feel fine, doesn't matter which side, I feel fine, I'm good. And some people can really say that, and some people say it, but they really can't say it. They just want to be able to say it.
I'm with you.
Okay, well, thanks.
And it's so, you know, another thing to put into the equation is, and I'm, of course, saying this from my own personal experience and my own personal process, it's so easy to trick ourselves. That's why yesterday I said you got to keep looking at the fruit you produce, look at your results. That's where your accurate feedback is going to come from. It's not going to come from your mind. And to heal, you got to be out of your mind, which, you know, that tool of forgiveness is the most profoundly powerful way I know of to consistently, persistently spend time out of your mind so that you heal.
Yeah.
And I just sent you an email on that with an article I wrote on that other topic.
Oh, you did? Thank you. My friend Rhea, you met her ages ago. Remember Rhea Swift? She came on the show years ago.
Right.
She texted me, tried to call me during our meeting, and I said, I'm in a meeting and you ought to be here. So I told her you were on. She said, oh. So she was the one with the phone number. She was not participating, but she was listening. And I think she needed to hear everything you said. Yeah, I'm glad she made it too. It's great. Fortuitous, really lucky.
And for anybody who's listening and you're not sure what we're talking about, every week on Wednesdays, this young lady does a Mind Shifter support group. So if you want to be part of that, you can go to our website, whyagain.org. And Jean, where could she find the link for Susan's Zoom group, Mind Shifter support group?
I've seen it in there. It's in Why Again. I forget where, but
Yeah, Jeannie knows how to navigate the. Are you with us, Jeannie?
Yeah, I guess I could unmute. So it is under healing and support, and then there's the Mind Shifter support groups. And then there is the Allentown, PA Zoom.
That's
so if you jump on our website, you'll find that. And on Wednesday mornings at 11 o'clock, you can join Susan in the group that's working. 10:30 to noon.
10:30 to noon Eastern.
Well, and
yeah.
I was, one of the things I was appreciating with everything that's coming up for people around the cultural happenings was how perfectly the last few days have fit into this, that we really need to pay attention to our inner work and recognize that the inner life is where the real life is, and the outer life is just an effect, just a reflection. And that if we focus on the reflection, and in fact, the next thought in the Book of Thomas that we're going to, saying 67, I just read in, Yeshua says, "He who knows all but fails to know himself lacks everything." So we can be acquainted with everything going on out there, all the insanities, all the, but if we don't know how to bring ourselves into the fray, into the picture, we can't consciously create. So everything is lost without that.
Yeah.
So it's perfect fitting for what's going on. So any other thoughts for you?
Well, I just had a quick question about the housing. When you go to Ryan, have you found a place to live?
We've got a place tentatively rented, yes.
Okay.
Yep. If we find something better, we can get a refund before November the 26th. But right now, that's the best that we've been able to find that's close enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're trying to get it close enough so that when I'm at the house, especially with the baby and Arya, that her mom can travel back and forth. She's going to want to spend, of course, all the time she can at the hospital with Ryan. But she's going to have to drive back and forth, so we're trying to get as close as possible to the hospital in Nashville.
That's great. Good.
All right, young lady. Appreciate
you.
All
right, thanks so much.
One.
Oh,
Alrighty.
Thank you. I'll be listening.
Okay, bye-bye. So, Miss Jeannie, do we have anything happening in the email or chat room? Or
we do have another hand up. It's Miss Celinda, 541. You're on the air.
Hello.
Welcome, young lady. Welcome.
Had to find the mute button.
I know how that goes. So what's on your mind for today?
Continuing conversation from today with Dr. Tim and Susan, which I feel is a whole continuation of the conversations we had yesterday.
Right.
I was one of those people who stayed calm during the elections. In fact, I was calm voting. I've been calm through the whole election, and I attribute it to my desire to be love expressing in our community and have been practicing that, and my desire for inclusiveness. In fact, I didn't even vote for the president because I felt it was the good old, I'm right, you're wrong, just wait till I get in control, and then I'll fix everything, including your wagon. So I just stayed out of it. I voted for those that I was comfortable with and that I trusted, because it really is a trust issue. And I kept saying my little mantra. I think it was, Hildegard of Bingen, I think, who said, all shall be well, and all shall be well, and all shall be exceedingly well.
Exceedingly well.
Exceedingly well. And I've changed it into, as I think I mentioned the other day, now time. So all is well. All is well. All is exceedingly well. Because I'm doing my best to put past, present, and future as a spectrum in its proper perspective, which is stuck in the conscious brain, and step into more and more as I do my work into the now moment, the only moment we have.
Awesome. So what can we support you with? What's on your mind that we can support you with?
And at the same time, I'm never going to arrive, quote unquote. And I've been watching my regulatory speech a lot more, and others as well, since your explanation just hit home a couple weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, I don't remember. You just happened to say exactly the right words for me to interpret it, I think, in a much more actual way as to what it is, because I didn't know it was actually what regulates our physiology. But then I made the connection between it and the baby in the womb and the research that has been discovered that every baby has an absolutely unique movement that goes with every sound of the language of their native tongue.
Yep.
And
it's all coded right in tissue.
Regulatory speech, right
That's
down
it.
on the cellular level. And so I've been watching that more. I think it's been my practice of wanting to be inclusive and to connect and to commune and to discover what it means to actually be a part of community. And that's helped me. And then we come to the home front, which is our intimate relationships. And there I am, triggered. And so I had an interchange with Larry, which triggered an event that I realized when I exploded that I had been resentful for a couple of months at least of something of a what I conceived, what I interpreted as a unilateral decision. And we go around the mountain every now and then. Pardon?
Before you go too far in that from that thought, I'd like to offer you the feedback that you had no resentment whatsoever about that situation or that event.
The resentment.
But you have resentment.
Yeah.
But you have resentment. Your mind can put it there.
Triggered. Yep. By something that I interpreted of what Larry said, and we're off and running.
I have given this all the meaning it has for me.
Right. But out of that came a profound realization, and I'm saying realization on purpose, because for me a realization is a gut hit, an intuitive aha, not a head aha. And because it's that old percolator thing I talked to you about the old coffee pot, Maxwell House, right? We get it in the head first. This is what I do. Let me say, I get it in the head first.
Brain cells.
Yes,
Yep.
I get it. But having been trained to live from the neck up all of my life, I didn't realize the percolation effect. And now I'm getting it in the heart level as the coffee steeps, as this spiritual truth steeps. And then I'm finally finding it happening in my physiology and my actions towards others. 100% no.
Nice.
And I'm also
it's a process.
I don't have to, right. And I'm eventually eroding this having to go up against. I mean, think of that languaging. And I'm saying, this is a wonderful opportunity for me to grow, even if I have resistance, even if I don't want to go there. Still an opportunity. So this little situation that came up, and I have the beginnings of a worksheet. I've got my emotion, my thought, my story, my goal, my punishment, and I just want to go on and finish it, and I'll put it on a sheet. But when I looked at it, and listened to these 2 days programs, I went, bingo, this has to do with the age-old, I'm right, you're wrong.
Settled, why argue?
I want
yeah.
it settled. I'm going to get my way, even if I have to walk all over you, because I know what's good.
Power person dynamic.
Exactly. That's
walk
what
all
I
over
said.
somebody's power person dynamic.
Right. And what I realized was, and another thing that helped me was Dr. Tim's patter, because he always does his patter with the worksheet.
Right.
And his patter is much more intuitive, descriptive, and I don't mean descriptive from a conscious level. I mean more an intuitive, right brain kind of counterpoint, wonderful counterpoint to the process, the worksheet process. And I went, I can cut through every single goal of mine, and they come down to, I'm right, you're wrong, you should, that's the goal, you should.
Yep.
And I'm not responsible, I'm just a victim. Or you're responsible, and I'm going to come up against you, I just happen to say use that language. I don't use that language, but it just made me realize. And in this community, we have people from both sides that won't talk to each other. And we also have a wonderful middle community that are constantly trying to reach out to each other because we all know we're in the same survival boat.
No.
And that's very sweet.
Yeah. You open for a piece of feedback?
I'd love some.
So one of the things you talked about is, and you mentioned it a couple of times, so it's obviously a really important goal, and that is to be inclusive.
Mm-hmm.
And my feedback there would be to make sure that you make that goal one that is active and starts at home.
Exactly.
So between you and Larry?
That's what I was trying to express. Oh, yeah, our relationship is so much better. And if I can keep us talking, we can get to a resolution, because eventually a light will go on in our heads like, oh, this is what you're really saying, because we don't use the same words. So we are interpreting all the time what we say,
Yeah, is the problem you're speaking or my listening? The problem is always my listening.
How about all of the above?
No,
both directions.
No. It's not all of the above. The problem for me is always my listening. Not, I can put a little bit on them because of the way they spoke. No, problem in me is always my listening. If I pretend otherwise, I'm now in denial, and I'm dissociating from a part of my own mind with that behavior.
Right, and what I did not hear was for me. So I thought you were talking about the whole interrelationship soup. And so what's mine is mine, and what's the other is the other's. Yeah. It's the problem. It's the buck stops here is what, I agree with you. I just didn't hear for me what you said in the previous one. And it doesn't matter anyway, because I'm spot on the same page as you when I'm saying. Yep.
That's the objective, isn't it? To be sane.
Yeah.
Which means we've reclaimed our human lives.
Yeah. So anyway, it goes back to the Garden of Eden, and again, this is only my interpretation. Do I know if it's true or not? I have no idea, but it certainly makes my life work better. That good and evil is an invention of someone who is acting from something less than love. And we're going to march over and say, God, I really want that fruit from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And that's not discernment either. It's attachment and judgment and all of that. Well, if this is good, then that has to be bad, and if this is beautiful, then that has to be ugly. It's opposite.
But the real common denominator under it all is the goal that I hold. That's
exactly.
where the work is done. It's the goal. It's not in figuring out anything. It's the goal.
Yep, and
that's where the cleanup happens.
For me. And when I added the word should to that, should as a judgment, not should as if it should rain, shall bring my umbrella, but should as in a judgment, an obligation. Yeah. Because the
awesome.
original meaning of the word shall and should, it has nothing to do. You can go to Webster's, and Webster's will tell you it will. It means that. But there's a very difference between shall and will. And I'm making that distinction, that discernment. And I think I'll hang out in shall. As
probably a good thing to stop shitting on ourselves and each other.
Yeah, really. I'll hang out in shall, and should as a simple conditional situation of shall. Yeah, shall says, okay, I'll do it. Will says, I have an intention. Yeah, that's it. I just wanted to share that
I'll join you in doing it.
And I'm trucking through. I'm still trucking through.
All right, young lady, awesome. Joining you in breathing and doing it.
Anymore. Bye-bye.
All right, take care. Blessings. Bye-bye. All right. Well, Miss Jeannie, we have anybody else out there in the phone queue with a hand up?
No, it's all quiet.
Well, if you're out there in listener land and you're listening on one of those stations where we can't see you on our control panel, you're on one of those syndicated stations, we can't see you. And if you want to talk to us, if you dial into the show directly, the call-in number is 563-999-3581. If you call that number, you are listening to the show directly. And then if you push 1, that'll raise a hand in the control panel. Jeannie will introduce you by your phone number, and we'll be having a conversation. So if we can be of any support in processing whatever needs to be processed and how the tools are applied, questions about the tools, where to find support, on our website, if you go to our website, whyagain.org, it's grown so huge. I don't even know now whether I don't remember last time we did a count, but we're over 20,000 pages. And so if you go to the website, whyagain.org, in the upper left-hand corner there's a button that says Start Here. Jeannie has done a little video on how to operate the website, how to find things on the website. So if that's of any help. And also she did a video on how to use the app. And if you don't have our forgiveness app, you don't need paper. The app's totally private. You can download it from your app store. If you simply go to your app store and type in Heartland, one word, Heartland, Heartland Aramaic Forgiveness, then you'll be listening to the show directly. You'll be able to write questions in the app to the show. The app will come up, there's a little red heart, and that's our forgiveness process. And in there you can write questions into the show. And from any page within the app, you're doing step 4 on the worksheet, and you go, what the heck does this mean? That just doesn't make any sense. Okay, so write that thought down, hit send. Jeannie will get the question, and she'll read it on the show, and we'll have a discussion and send you back a link to directly to the answer to that question, or at least the best answers we've got. So your questions are important. They are a big part of what makes this show work. So delighted that you're here with us, and our next thought, or I actually kind of started to cover it, is 67 from the Book of Thomas. You can download, you can go to several different websites and download the Book of Thomas if you want a copy of it. It's a series of sayings that were purportedly written down by a man named Thomas Didymus. And they're the simple sayings that reflect the inner teachings, what's been called the secret teachings of Yeshua. So the 67, he who knows all but fails to know himself lacks everything. You remember early in the in doing this series, we talked about John the Baptist, and again, recognizing that none of this conversation that involves the scriptures has anything to do with religion. Man turned it into religion. It was a way to gain power and money and control and conflict, and it served the king's purposes. It's all a fraud to call it religion. And so when you get to the reality of it, it applies literally where you live, where you work, where you interact with your children, with your spouse, with your neighbors, with your friends, with your enemies, should you choose to have any. And so that particular passage, he talks about John the Baptist as being the highest born of woman. But, he's talking about, there are two different worlds we can live in. If you watch that video, if you go to our YouTube channel and type in, what is the world? And take a look at that from the Course in Miracles. The world is false perception. It is born of error. It has not left its source. False perception are the constructs of the mind from carbon-based memory. So in essence, what Yeshua was saying about John the Baptist is, he's living out of carbon-based memory, born of woman, flesh. But in the other world, the community of love, which was called the kingdom of heaven, and the way the Greeks translated it is, he was the lowest and born of woman, or the highest born of woman, but the lowest in the kingdom of heaven. But it isn't about some place off in the sky. Those words are properly translated as the community of love. Those who are living from a state of active present love have got the highest born of woman beat all the heck, Yeshua was saying. He said, so if you have the greatest intellect, you have the carbon-based memory, you've got all the information, you know about what causes the stars to do what they do and the earth to do what they do and the animals, and you know it all. That way, he said, if I do charity, if I give my body to be burned for charity, if I give everything I have, but I do not have a place in the community of love, if I do not have love, if I haven't discovered my human life, he says, I am as a tinkling cymbal. So if you do not awaken to your eternal true being, and a lot of people are in trauma over what's happened in the last 24 hours in the country. They think, but I'd offer, if you think you're in trauma over something that happened out there, you're living in denial. The only way you can ever be in trauma is short of somebody coming up and punching you in the nose, and there's another level to that conversation too, but the only way you can be in trauma is if there's an energy in you that doesn't belong in you. And we've been made into experts at blaming. And it's a tough religion to give up. That one world universal religion of blame is a tough one. And you have to, in order to awaken to your true eternal being, and you can have all of the knowledge of the world too, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just that if you make that first, then you've lost. You've lost the opportunity to experience your eternal life. One master said, human beings are skillful in their ignorance. And so we can hear ignorance of talking about how all the problems are out there, and if only they would, and they know how to correct everybody's problem. But when they're alone, they have to face and deal with what's in their own minds, and they've got to stop the lie. So Yeshua is saying, discover the truth of you. Recognize that the mind of a man in you is a trap. And if in all you're doing you don't get being, then you aren't. It's wake-up time. Our culture does not do a very good job of supporting us, experiencing ourselves as human beings. Doesn't do a very good job of supporting us in experiencing the fact that we are born of active present love, that our essential nature is that of active present love. And the objective of this work is to support you in freeing yourself of everything based in hostility or fear, so that you discover the truth of yourself as the active presence of love, and that you live from there. So in this particular saying 67, he who knows the all but fails to know himself lacks everything. The only place where true human life happens is in this state of being. And then, saying 68, Yeshua says, blessed are you. Now, I've said before when we come across these words, blessed are you, that I do not have this based on translation, but if it matches the translation from the Aramaic, those words, blessed are they or blessed are you, it's a three-part word as it expresses in the Beatitudes. The word is tuvehun, and basically what it says is a latent neural structure implanted in you by the Creator to guide you to happiness and well-being. In other words, there's already a structure in you to keep even your carbon-based memory on track with supporting you having a human life. It's already in you. So blessed are you when they, and this one seems really strange, when they hate you and persecute you and do not find a place in the spot where they persecute you. And this ties in with John the Baptist again. Everybody has to meet their John the Baptist. Remember what they called John the Baptist? He was the raving maniac in the desert. What is the desert? The desert is a code word for the unconscious. When they talked about the Jews wandering in the desert for 40 years, they weren't talking about them wandering for 40 years in a 35 square mile hot standy place. The desert is a code word for the unconscious, and most people spend about the first 40 years of their lives unconscious before they start to put two and two together and wake up from the sleep of Adam. Remember the story of Adam gets created and he falls into a deep sleep and there's nothing about him waking up. So you come all the way forward and you've done the work of Yeshua. And then they talk about being awake in the mind of Christ. So if you've reached a state where you're living from being, and someone comes along with their attack and their persecution and what have you, and there is no place in you where you are persecuted. Now, it sounds like a conflict, but there's no conflict. Someone can come along and do the behavior that the world would call persecution, but if it doesn't find a place in you, then you are well on your way to having activated that neural structure that will guide you totally and completely. So if you've not reached a state of being and others arouse in you persecution, then it's your opportunity to forgive that structure in your mind of persecution. If you've reached being, then you'll be empowered to deliver the tools and the support, the healing for what comes up, even from the persecutor. Notice Yeshua was able to simply hand that energy to them. Having done your work, there's no spot, there's no resonance in you for persecution to land. There's no energy in you that resonates with it, which means that you will be the space and instantly process anything in you that needs to be resolved. If there's any space in you where persecution can land, and you look across the street and you see somebody being persecuted, then, oh, I'm really upset about that. No, you're not upset about that. You're upset about that which is in you, not that which is outside of you. You've never been upset about anything in your life. There are just different forms of upset which you have inherited or you have generated. And until you wake up and realize that and begin to apply forgiveness, then the tendency will be, oh, there's something going on out there. I'm going to link what's going on inside of me to out there so I can blame the out there. But the out there is never the cause of what's happening in here. The only thing that can cause what's happening in here is what's in here. So he's saying if somebody shows up playing John the Baptist ready to persecute you, and you are a clear, clean space about that particular form of persecution, then you'll simply be able to offer the space of support to that person, placing you for that energy, because that is unlike your human life. And we're down to about 15 minutes, so I'm just going to check in with Jeannie and to see if there's anybody out there with a question for us, a thought. Again, our call-in number, if you're on one of those stations where we can't see you, is 563-999-3581. If you call that number, you're listening to the show. And if you push 1, we'll be having a conversation, and I would love to have a conversation with you. 563.
We do have a...
Oh, great. Let's go for it.
It's Miss Audrey, 520. You're on the air.
Well, hey there, young
Hi.
lady. We haven't heard your voice in a while. Welcome.
Thank you. I just want to thank Source Energy for giving you the guidance to write the book and giving me the guidance to work the tools, because it has helped me and helped me and helped me in so many ways. And believe me, sometimes I was really in a very dark space, working the tools. And the church I go to, the minister belongs to the LBG, whatever, initials. And I go to a support troop there as an allied. And I just go as love's presence. And
Yay.
someone had given me an article. I did not know it, about agenda, and there was 4 digits, and I read it. Oh, I was so upset. There were no words about my upsetness. And I went to the minister, and he spoke with me, and I applied the tools, and I had peace in my heart.
Yay.
And and many, I went to a group outside, and this one woman had said, who invited me to the group, and I went a couple times, and then she decided, if Audrey goes, I will not go anymore. And I applied the tools. I have to say, it was work. It was work. I applied the tools, and it didn't just happen in one day. And I loved her through it, and the issue was resolved, and there were other issues, and I am experiencing peace. And when I'm not, I know what to do and how the process works. And I just wanted to thank you so much, because I know...
Well, you are so welcome. You've discovered in the very real world where conflict reflects what Yesu was talking about as the peace that passes all understanding. That's awesome.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. And I want to thank you. Thank Jeannie. Thank this just Source Energy. And I know...
Well, glad to be on the team. And I have a question for you, because there are those who may be listening who don't know who you are. And when you've shared this on the show previously, I actually heard back from someone who was very inspired. And if you wouldn't mind, and you shared this on the show before, so I'm not asking questions out of school, would you share how many times around the sun you have been till you started using this work?
Yeah, I've been 83 years around the sun, and I'm still going around the sun. Yes.
Yay.
And
picking up the tools and putting to work.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. And
That's
I'm
awesome.
just so grateful. Thank you.
Well, thank you for saying thank you, and pass it on. That's the biggest thank you.
I'm sure. That's absolutely right. And blessings and peace.
And absolutely received. And, you know, the nicest gift is, you know, in the world, in the physical world, my original work was in the arena of electronics and physics. And what I know is that these high energy waves that we tap into, like the state of the peace that passes all understanding, there's no block in the physical world. There's no wall that can stop that high energy wave from radiating throughout the whole planet. And so it touches everybody. And so thank you for picking up and doing your work, because it makes a difference for everybody.
And I will continue to do my work.
Yay. All right. Very cool. Well, anything else we can support you with today?
You're already doing it. Thank you.
All right, dear heart. Appreciate you. Blessings.
Blessings.
Miss Jeannie?
There are no other hands. You've got 8 minutes.
8 minutes. Well, let's see if we can cover one more in 8 minutes. So saying number 69, Yeshua says, blessed are they, and again, let's go to the Aramaic of those words. That word tuvehun, 3-part word, says a latent neurostructure. That's part 1 of the word, tuv. A means unconscious or hidden, latent. Hun is a state of mind. So an active, bringing to activity a state of mind that guides us to happiness and well-being. So Yeshua is saying with this statement, tuvehun, a latent neurostructure implanted by the Creator to guide you to happiness and well-being, is yours who have been persecuted in your heart. These are they who have known the Father in truth. Blessed are they that hunger, that they may fill the belly. And breathing with that one. Blessed are they that hunger, that they may fill the belly of him who desires. So what in essence he's saying here is it's not people who do their work out of pain. They're driven by pain. Oh yes, they'll pick up the pen and paper and do a worksheet because they're in pain. Few do it out of choice. And if you understand how to honor truth, you won't need a persecutor. In other words, if this reality of persecution is in your heart, not somebody in the outer world doing it, and you've worked through it and you've cleaned it up, you hunger for wholeness for the sake of wholeness. You don't have to be driven by a stick. You don't have to be driven by trauma to do your work. But you will work to connect with that presence of love, needing a persecutor to drive you to do it. You know, one of my favorite tongue-in-cheek sayings in that regard, you know, the purpose of pain is to make our ears grow. Here he's referring to the person who doesn't need the persecutor. You sense the presence of error within yourself. In that sense, in a way, you sort of become your own persecutor. Oh, look what's moving in me. Now I want to breathe. Oh, I just touched into that subtle energy. Yes, that enemy within. That's the real meaning of that phrase, the enemy within. That's the enemy inside of us. You know, Pogo said it really well. We have met the enemy, and the enemy is us. So the error within yourself, if you find that, then he's saying you're blessed. And you do your work because you see that there's work that needs to be done rather than needing to be attacked, not needing to resonate or attack. When you are committed to maintaining your connection to love because you recognize that that is life, you don't need someone to kick you in the limitation. And that neurostructure being pursued in the Beatitudes is already active in you. You listen to that statement from the Beatitudes. We're in 5:6, Matthew 5:6. He who hungers and thirsts for righteousness. In other words, you want the result of living is the presence of love, and you are aware that you've lost it. You don't need somebody to come and push you and cajole you into it or beat you into it. You recognize when you've lost it, and you choose to do your work. And so that desire for wholeness it becomes the motivator instead of needing pain to motivate you. And so I'm just going to invite everybody to get really quiet. Allow yourself to close your eyes and just take a deep breath or two. And as you breathe, just look inside yourself for any energy that would cover over or block the presence of love in you. Allow yourself to take a couple of deep breaths. And as you do, just notice even the slightest tension. Tension might be in your neck, your foot, shoulder, back, throat, forehead. Allow your breath to go to that place where you find tension and just let it soften. Let the tension in your physiology go and be receptive. Be open to allowing whatever untoward energy is creating that tension to come to awareness. Now, at first, you may just process those energetic dynamics energetically. And then moving beyond that, you may allow yourself to become cognitively aware of what was in that tissue. And you breathe into that space and just allow the presence of love take over. Allow the breath to move fully through every cell in your structure and notice the light in every cell in your structure. And as you breathe into each cell, allow that light to strengthen until its field bursts through the barriers of your cellular structure. You're looking within with that inner eye and just see every cell radiating light and connecting to the light of every other cell. Yeshua informed people 2,000 years ago that he was the light of the world. And then he added, and the only word he changed in this sentence was the pronoun. He said, "You are the light of the world." It is in your power to be the light that changes everything. It is in your power to be the light that contributes to the healing of every mind, heart, and being on the planet.